sexually powerful women.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. I'm usually joined by my co-host, HK Perrin, but he is on an adventure this evening. And by that, I mean he has jury duty really early in the morning and is going to go to sleep. But before he, goes and sits and waits and waits and waits and sits and waits. Critical support to HK. Jury duty fucking sucks. Anyway, we're not here to talk about jury duty. We're here to talk about Arielle Scarcella. She's this sort of conservative lesbian that they like to trot out every once in a while when they want to shit on the LGBT community. In this case, they trotted her out on the Trigonometry Show. The Trigonometry Show is a show out of the UK with two comedians. They're not funny, and one of them is trying so desperately hard to be John Oliver. It's sad. And so I guess we're just gonna get right to it, unfortunately.
Hello and welcome to Trigonometry. I'm Francis Foster.
I'm Konstantin Kissen.
And this is a show for you if you want honest conversations with fascinating people.
Our brilliant and returning guest is a fellow YouTuber, Arielle Scarcella. Welcome back to Trigonometry.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, welcome. Yes. I was going to say, welcome to England. Yes. Thank you for welcoming me.
It's great to have you here. First time we meet you in person. We interviewed you during one of the lockdowns ages ago.
I think you interviewed me like a month after I came out of the closet as like a non-leftist.
Really?
That's apparently what you said in like 2020. That's like right when I came out as leaving the left.
Right.
So that must have been how you found me. That's how everybody else found me.
I think so. Yeah. Well, a lot of people recommended that we speak with you, and we had a conversation. But remote is not the same as in person. So, just for anyone who didn't catch that interview, who are you? What has been your journey through life? What leads you to be sitting here talking?
He's like, I'm a grifter. I'm here to shit on trans people. I was formerly shitting on just the entire LGBT community. But now I'm just going to shit on trans people, actually. And thank you for having me on your show to shit on trans people.
What?
Oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's be real. I'm like the OG lesbian of YouTube, right? Like I've been doing videos for 12 years. And in the beginning, it was like, it's okay to be gay, blah, 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 blah. Like that was like back in the day, right? Like 2008, 9, 10, 11.
When it sort of needed to be said a little bit.
Right. We didn't even have gay marriage in the United States, right? So it was
But they're against gay marriage, Arielle.
Oppression, right? There's actual oppression.
Now everyone's gay.
Now everyone's gay. Now everyone's non-binary. Like what even is that? So then I started talking about.
I mean, what even is that? Like, way to pull the ladder up behind you, right? Like, you're like, oh, we got gay marriage. Well, look at you down there. Oh, there was a ladder I climbed. Well, here, I'm gonna pull it up with me. Fuck off.
And then I was like, okay, I'm just getting sick of these crazy people calling themselves queer, non-binary, when they don't have gender dysphoria, when they're not same-sex attracted, when I know, I could curse on here, right? I know that you're a lesbian, you wouldn't suck a dick. Like, and people are afraid.
There's a lot of straight women who wouldn't do that either. But
That's,
No, there's a lot of straight women who won't suck your dick, Constantine. There's a big difference between not being willing to suck any dicks and not being willing to suck your dick, Constantine. Let's not get that shit twisted.
About my marital problems. Anyway, carry on.
my God. So, but yeah, like it became such, all the words and all the identities used to mean so many different things than they do now.
Yeah.
And then I started, it's like I reverted back to the old thing. It's okay to be a homosexual again.
But it's been okay the whole time. It just hasn't been okay to be you.
That's where I'm at now. And I talk about
you've been terrible
and that stuff. So that's where I'm at now. Because now you can't be gay anymore. It's transphobic, of course. So.
Oh, is it?
Who the fuck says it's transphobic to be gay? Like nobody's saying that. Come on.
Yeah, let's get into that.
I'm gonna get angry.
Dive right in.
Let's dive right into that. So what do you mean by that?
Well, what do I mean? What do they mean?
Okay.
And I mean, pun intended, the days we call.
Oh my God, this is aggressively unfunny and really, really, really hateful already. They're only like a minute into the conversation.
Call them the they thems.
Right.
It's like you can't be like a straight up lesbian anymore.
What?
You can. I fucking have friends. There's there's straight up lesbians who watch this fucking show, I'm sure. Oh my God, you can be a lesbian. I mean, I'm generally afraid of lesbians because they can beat me up, but that's different. That's a whole different story. What? Because
they call you transphobic if you like I'm a lesbian that like I only want like vagina. Sorry. Oh
no, nobody. No. A genital preference does not make you a transphobe. That is absolutely incorrect. I have a genital preference. I prefer people with penises. I do not get called a transphobe. I do not get accused of bigotry for that ever, because that having a genital preference is not bigotry. You can have a genital preference and be a bigot, and you could have a genital preference and not be a bigot. When you put your genital preference out in front and mistreat people because of your genital preference, that makes you a bigot.
Transphobic because some trans women have penises and some trans women are women and some trans women are lesbians, and you need to it's like, no, it's not how it works. But
so you're saying being attracted to the same sex, in your case, the female sex, is considered exclusionary by trans activists?
100%. And a lot of them are here in the UK. Just saying. I'm just saying. It's like the United States, the UK, and Australia. It's like, and Canada, bad.
What's the Anglosphere really going mental all at once?
I mean, it's first world countries.
Yeah.
First world problems, right?
Right.
You don't see people in Africa complaining about like homosexuality.
Do you reckon this episode is going to be demonetized, mate?
Probably.
Listen, then it's homophobia.
Yeah.
Same homophobia.
So I guess, but being serious for a second, what you're saying is you are now seeing that people like you who identify who are lesbian, right?
Wait. So she gets to be a lesbian, but the trans people are identifying themselves as trans. You see how fucked up this is? He almost had it right there. He's like, you identify as a lesbian, and that's fine. You can identify as a lesbian, but then he had to stop because he's like, wait a minute. No, I'm going to shit on people who identify as something later. So I gotta make sure that I get this right.
Sort of, you're feeling pressure?
100%. And I get messages every day. Literally every day. People that I date, like, it's funny because when I go on dates and they find out like who I am, whatever, they'll be like, a lot of them will be like, oh, you must have girls up in your DMs flirting with you. I'm like, actually, it's a lot of like gay people that are like, I'm outcasted at my school because I'm like homosexual and I'm not non-binary and not queer and I'm not.
Oh no, you're not. These people aren't fucking. This is not true.
It's like
nobody's like 16-year-old like lesbian is DMing this lady going, everybody hates me because I'm just a lesbian. I'm not trans. Like, no, you're just lying now. You're lying.
You're just gay, like.
So you're not rainbow enough anymore.
You're not rainbow enough. You can't just be like a basic gay guy or a basic lesbian anymore.
Is it because
you know why though, right?
No, go for it. Why?
Because nobody likes cis straight white people,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or cis like.
She just said cis straight white people. Oh no.
Less. Let me say this. How do you say it? Okay, so like cis straight white men are at the bottom of the pole. Like they're at the top of the world.
We know.
Yeah.
So, right, they're top of the world, but like in like the gay culture, right? Like or the woke culture, you're at the bottom. Like nobody likes you.
Yeah.
So like then you could be white. You could be a white cis but gay man.
Right.
And then you can be white cis lesbian.
Yeah.
And then it's like the queers, trans, black trans women are at the top.
Right.
It's like we have to praise.
But wait, no, I am being gay. Queer is like all encompassing, and it used to be a slur, and we took it back, lady.
It's like, how about we're just all the fucking same?
Yeah.
But we're not all the same.
Same level. We're all learning about ourselves. We're all different people. Nobody has to hate anybody. Like they're trying to erase hierarchy and these system of oppressions by creating another system of oppression, hating white people, hating straight people, hating men. It doesn't make any sense. So now you have all these young kids that are cis straight white men or cis straight white women that are claiming all these other identities because they don't want to be on the bottom of the pole.
Wait,
right?
what the fuck are you talking about?
Kidding, I'm not actually white. I'm Native American, like Elizabeth Warren.
Oh my God. Like she's perfect for them. She's as aggressively unfunny and terrible as they are.
I'm actually non-binary, so I'm like, I get like oppression points now. I'm up here.
Wait, what?
What happens? You created a new system of hierarchy. Stupid.
There's no.
Yeah,
like they created what
the fuck?
trying to erase.
It's a really good point. What does queer mean, Arielle? Because
I don't even know. I literally I'm gay and I don't even know what the word queer means anymore.
But it includes you. You just don't like it because it includes people you don't like. Oh my God. It just includes it includes everybody except for, I guess, straight people. And even some straight people are queer. I don't know. Fucking just be queer and shut up, lady. God.
Because
I think go ahead.
No, because queer came around in the 50s, and there was a type of, and there was a genre of theatre and literature called queer theatre, queer literature, which was normally gay men and some gay women talking about their experiences of what it was like to live in that time where your identity and your sexual identity was illegal.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of that literature was about, and it's very interesting, and it has real power to it. But
yes.
What does queer mean now?
Queer. I think queer people use it. What I think it should mean is anyone that's gender dysphoric or anyone that's same-sex attracted. Even though I hate the word, but I would be okay with other people using the word for that purpose. What I think it actually means now, the way people use it, is anything other than cis straight white man.
No, because there are plenty of women who are cis and straight, and they're not queer. And people who are straight black men are not queer. They're straight. And it's fine, perfectly fine to be straight. Some of my best friends, are straight.
Or cis straight white woman. Like you color your hair, you're queer.
Wait, what? No.
You have a nose ring, like and a septum piercing, and like a little bit different haircut. You cut your hair on the side, you're queer. Even though you're like only or a woman that sleeps with like men.
I think to some people who are coming
everyone wants to be in this,
I know exactly what I mean. And I think to some people coming to this whole thing for like the first time, or who are like not on the internet, let's say.
They think that we're crazy, right? Like, oh, you're over exaggerating. Yeah. It's like actually.
And I sometimes think that we are over exaggerating, but we did a live show here in London, and one of the bar staff, who was very nice, she was I say she
we don't know what her identity is.
Oh no, can't you just you almost did it, Constantine. You almost just let her be as a person who isn't here to defend herself, you almost just let her be just by calling her because that's what she calls herself. But then you couldn't fucking do it, could you, Constantine? You couldn't just let it be. You're like, actually, now we gotta qualify that. We gotta make sure that the audience knows that I don't like her because she's trans.
Me, this is difficult. This person I'm talking about was non-binary. And when one of our team talked to her, just as a friendly chat, she basically went, I thought you guys were like these evil bigots, whatever. Then I watched the show and you're cool. And also she said,
things that didn't happen for 1,000. And then everyone clapped for Constantine.
Some non-binary people go by she pronouns.
It's a girl.
So
I'm
there's no
sorry.
fucking
It was a
purpose
girl.
of these pronouns
It was a girl. But
like
look,
Blair said, like they trade them like Pokemon cards, pronouns. Okay, you have one, I have one, this one.
I swear to God, this is so fucking like
it's so
No, you were fine when you just called her she and described the interaction.
Anyway, so this was someone
except that it probably never happened.
Female, identified as non-binary.
Right.
And what she said was, look, I've grown up in a society where women are quote unquote disadvantaged and oppressed, right?
Yep.
And this is a way for me to opt out of this category.
But that's not true. Because you go to the
Yeah, this didn't happen.
Opt out of being female.
But in this society, she can.
This just happened to be the bartender at a gig you had. Get the fuck out of here.
Isn't it?
You don't talk to the staff at events. You're an asshole.
And they claim everyone else has privilege. Bitch, go to the Middle East. They'll throw you off the building for being gay.
Oh, that fucking, she did the thing. She did the thing. She did the thing I talk about with the atheists that they always do it. They're like, actually, the bigotry here is fine because if you went to the Middle East, they'd throw you off the building for being a weirdo or whatever. She did the thing.
like it's in
No, why are you acting like that's a novel thing? She did the thing. That's one of the things that's like the joke.
Monetized, mate.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think that last little comment.
just bleep it
There's
out.
nothing we don't
Bleep
say
it.
on the show,
No,
by the
fuck
way.
it. We
We don't give a shit if
we-
it's demonetized.
We just find it funny.
We just laugh at YouTube's rules about this because we're trying to have an honest conversation
Yeah.
and you can't.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying to do. But I guess where I'm going with it is like, I think you're right about the totem pole of different levels. Like people just want to be in a different place on that pole.
Yes.
And I think it seems that when you took, like, it sounds like something people who are bigots would make up about people who are just identifying as a different gender.
But they're actually doing it. It's not made up. Like we're not making this up.
Right.
No.
This is an actual thing that's happening. Like everywhere. That's first world countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that actually crystallizes what we're talking about are the flags. Have you seen the flags? This is beautiful.
Like the 80 different, like I don't even, I'm gay and I can't even, I think I know about 6 of them.
Do you know what the straight flag is?
No, we have one. There's like the old school rainbow flag, and then there's the new one that's more inclusive. That's supposed to be more inclusive. Whatever. You don't like the flag? Get the fuck out of here. You know the straight flag? Man, I can't say that on this show, can I? Is there a flag for Ford Truck Month? Do they have a flag for Ford Truck Month? Because I think that's the straight pride flag. Is there a flag for the Toyota-thon?
I guess
No.
it's beige.
Beige.
Yeah.
There's a straight flag now.
And it's beige.
It's beige.
And I'm sure you guys get shit for that. Probably. Like if you had it hanging on
we
your
don't
hand.
have one in there.
But
We
if
don't
you
have one
did, but
framed.
if you did, you would get shit for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Which
that
is
would be
stupid.
straight pride, wouldn't it?
Right.
Right.
And straight pride is bad. You can't be straight
You
anymore.
can't be
It's
pride.
bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so interesting. To me, that is the most beautiful troll I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You get a flag, but it's beige because you're fucking boring.
That's true. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this what you talk about now on the YouTube channel?
I talk about, I dove into politics for a little bit, but
Yeah.
like that gets me demonetized. And
Yeah.
it's also very, very difficult to talk about, right? Because like nobody really knows who's lying in politics. Like everybody lies. It's politics. So I try to stick to more culture-based stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it just happens right now. People can call me transphobic for it, but like this is a women's rights issue. And I've always been an actual, like a traditional feminist, not like these crazy ones, right? But
oh, she's a real feminist. She's a TERF.
Men and women should be treated, for the most part, in general, as equals. Traditional feminist kind of stuff. My body, my choice. I am pro-choice. I'm always going to be pro-choice. Not that I think killing babies is good. It's a lot of, like I said, it's a big conversation. But that's more of where I'm going now. It's not much about politics, unless there's like a gay rights issue in politics at the moment. Then I'll talk about it. Right now, it's a lot about women's rights because you have Leah Thomas looking like a straight up dude. Like I do believe that person is a trans woman, probably. I mean, she does seem like an actual trans person, but it doesn't mean that it's fair, right? You can be, there can be two things can be true at once.
Right. Somebody can be trans, but it doesn't mean they're entitled to compete with women.
Right. Two things can be true at once. Exactly. Yeah. But the left can't see.
You know, I just wonder how many of these people were like connoisseurs of fucking women's sports, like prior to any of this. You know what I'm saying? Like how many of these people cared about women's sports before this? I don't care about women's sports. It's not that I don't think women can play sports or whatever. I'm just not a fucking sports fan more generally. Why the fuck? When did all of a sudden these people become fans of women's sports? And like as far as who gets to compete in what kind of sporting events, I figured they have sanctioning bodies for that. They've already thought about this stuff. So I just figure like it's not my job to decide. I'm not the sanctioning body for any sport. I'm not on a committee for sanctioning any sport. It doesn't have anything to do with me. That way.
It's very black and white, which is kind of weird, right? Because they're not. They're like anti-racist. They don't see color. It's like, I don't know.
It's a really good point.
It's bad. Yeah.
Particularly with Leah Thomas. You know, we have a lot of people on to discuss this particular issue.
But you have nobody on that takes my position to discuss these kinds of issues. Weird facsimile of John Oliver guy dude.
Yeah. And this is a question that I ask of a few of our guests. The first people to really start talking about this were gay women. I remember a friend of mine who she was talking about.
Oh, you don't have any friends.
Kind of stuff in 20.
That's like, well, you don't have any friends. That's just somebody you know's wife. It's probably whatever.
14 in 20.
Wow, that's
because she goes to all female sex clubs and she would go there and participate. I sound so old. Participate.
Old and boring and beige.
Old and boring and beige.
You know, my little flag outside, down with this sort of thing. No. And she was...
That's funny. That is a troll thing. Beige flag.
This guy does not have a lesbian friend who goes to sex clubs. Get the fuck out of here. This is absolutely not. I'm just not buying it that this guy... There's no way. We can't prove him wrong, but there's just a zero chance that this guy has lesbian friends who go to sex clubs.
So she would be there and there would be basically a dude would walk in wearing a dress.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, you're a dude in a dress. And
Which is not a trans woman, by the way. Right.
And he'd be like, well, I identify as female. And this was like...
No!
Wow. That didn't happen.
No. Okay, listen. There's a lot. There's first of all, conversations that never happened for 1,000. But the story he's saying didn't happen, even if the friend is real. This is just shit that didn't happen. He's just making shit up. Like, for fuck's sake.
New York back then. There was one person, but I think her name was Joanne. And she wasn't, I don't think she was I don't think she was trans. I think she was a cross-dresser.
Yeah.
But she never made us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Never. And we accepted her. We were like, this was like 2014, 2015. Yeah. Like she came to the gay
This was like before I was a terrible person and realized that she couldn't do it. She tried to do the Dave Rubin Why I Left the Left grift, right? But her 15 minutes are past. She tried to do it. She's not going to be able to do it though.
The lesbian club never hit on anybody because she's not trans woman. She's just a dude that likes wearing dresses. Fine.
Yeah.
We didn't care, but that's the difference, right? You like feeling entitled to a space versus knowing that you're a guest in the space. I know that sounds like a very woke.
Well, you're a guest in any space that isn't your home, generally, unless you're like in public or whatever. Like retail stores might call you a guest instead of a customer. I'm a guest when I'm at a bar. I'm at that bartender's discretion, right? That bartender will kick me out. I start wilding out. So yeah, I'm a guest in that space.
To say, but it's true in some cases, right? They can't just like walk into like a men's bathhouse as a woman. Like it's weird. Like you can, it's just like that's a men's.
Well, actually, you can. If it's open to the public, they can't.
So we didn't care if she was trans or just a simple cross-dresser. She just hung out and just acted like any of the other girls, never hit on us, never like made us feel uncomfortable. That's the difference. But you're a dude in a dress and then you're like hitting on girls and like being, if that's, I'm assuming that's probably what was happening.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like you're clearly a dude in a dress.
Well, and y'all are real big on respect on this show called Trigonometry.
Or a cross-dresser, whatever you want to call it. And you're impeding on women's spaces. It's the one place we have. There's like 5 lesbian bars left in the United States. You really have to come to our bar? Like, go
Dude,
away.
I'm a cis man, a cis gay man. I go to a lesbian bar. I have a good time too. I have a good time. We used to throw events at a lesbian bar in Santa Clara. They were fucking so cool to everybody there. I forget the name of the bar. I think it got bought and it's not a lesbian bar anymore. But yeah, you can go to a lesbian bar. Why not? It's a bar. Lesbians hang out there. You can go there. You can go there. Straight woman, cis man, trans woman. Everybody go to your local lesbian bar. Support your local lesbian bar. Buy some drinks. Tip your bartenders. If there's a band there, buy their merch. If there's DJs there, ask the DJ like where you can get their mix or whatever, or ask them when they're playing their next event. Yeah, go to your local lesbian bar. Don't listen to this lady. If there's a lesbian bar in your community, you patronize that place because it's a part of your community. You might make some friends there, for fuck's sake. That's the point of a bar. So weird. This is crazy. What she's saying is crazy. Now they're going from a sex club. Okay, women's only, a lesbian sex club. Sure, maybe I shouldn't go there. But a bar? She's like, now they're just onto a lesbian bar? Get the fuck out of here. The people at the lesbian bar that run that bar, they want you to go in there and spend your money as long as you can treat people there with fucking respect. That's it.
But I think that's kind of the point, isn't it? Because we've all got
Which is a very male thing to do, by the way. No offense. But
no,
it is.
no.
It's a very male thing for me to just go to the lesbian bar and get a drink. Yeah, it's a very everyone thing. If there's a fucking gay bar in your community, go there, get a drink. The dudes are, if you're a man and somebody starts hitting on you, go, oh, I'm actually not gay. I'm just here for a drink. They'll go, oh, okay, cool. Because that's the way it's going to work. Because it's just a bar in the end. Because they're talking about a bar. Sex clubs almost are exclusively not bars. Because a sex club and alcohol don't mix. It's very unsafe to have people intoxicated at a sex club.
None taken.
Yeah.
But see, this is why I kind of miss the old days of comedy, because in some ways, like we being comedians, I like how he had to remind his guest and the audience that those two are comedians. You know somebody's a comedian when they tell you they're a comedian. That's how you actually know when they're funny, when they're a good comedian, is that they're reminding you that they are in fact a comedian. Take the piss out of men and women, and that was and you just treat like men.
Oh, you can still, man. One of our favorite people to have as a guest on Local Love, and just one of our favorite people, is Phil Johnson. He does those funny songs you sometimes hear on this channel. He takes the piss out of men and women. He even takes the piss out of his own wife in some of his comedy. And the reason it's okay is because he's funny and he's not being abusive to anyone as he's cracking jokes about people. He's so good at it. He's so good at making fun of sex, making fun of men, making fun of women, making fun of the way we all behave in our relationships. He's hilarious. And he can do it because he's a good person who does not intend to hurt anyone with what he's saying.
stupid in many ways. Women do things in
and
ways
women are sneaky in many ways.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just different.
Yeah.
And like, but now you can't really address that without becoming some kind of evil.
Yeah, because gender's made up.
Right. But I think one of the points you hit on actually is really important, which is the sort of like every group now, we're not trying to like make people's lives easier or like just like go, oh, this person is a bit different. Let's include them if we can. It's more like, this is my fucking right. I deserve to be here.
Right. And that's not
well, if it's a public space or a place of public accommodation and you're different and you're not doing anything wrong, then yeah, you do have a right to be in public spaces and places of public accommodation.
And everything
that's
is
not
like
how
that.
gay people won their rights, by the way. Like, it's different at Stonewall. Yes, Stonewall, they acted like that because they were getting beaten up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Oh, who threw the first brick? Arielle.
Gay people were like, we're just like you. We just want something a little different, but we want to interact with society and be a part of society like everyone else. That's not what this new movement's about. It's the opposite. It's literally
She's giving you like the sanitized Will and Grace version of the gay rights movement. This is not the history of the gay rights movement. The history of the gay rights movement is us being beaten by other citizens, being beaten by cops, being beaten sometimes by other citizens and the cops, having our bars get raided by the cops for no reason other than the bar was catering to gay people. Our history is having to stand up for ourselves in high school and be the one who ends up fighting the bully. That's our history. Our history isn't this. She's giving you the, oh, Will and Grace was on after Friends, and that's why there's gay marriage version or the gay rights movement. It's the same thing they do to Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement, where they sanitize it. They do a revisionist history of it after it's over, so that it looks like it was this lily white kind of almost intellectual thing where we just won the argument. No, you don't get your rights that way. You have to fight for them. People die in the street for people to get their rights. This is bullshit.
opposite, like what you're saying. You have to conform to what we think about ourselves. Is the opposite of what gay people did, which is we're going to conform to you. We're just a little different.
And it's
No, we already were just like everybody else. Just different. Because everybody is just like everybody else, but different. Everyone in this chat is just like everybody else, but a little different. Everybody listening to my podcast right now is just like everybody else, but a little bit different.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was going to say that's why I think that's why trans rights is not actual trans people, by the way. I don't think this is just like these non-binary queer people. That's why it's reversing.
Whoa, dude, she's like actual trans people are fine. I just don't like the non-binaries. Bet she loves her some David Bowie. Bet she loves her some Eurythmics.
A lot of these issues are going backwards.
How so?
A lot of it, just like the trans rights specifically, I would say.
Well, how is it going I don't
backwards?
Disagree with you, but just give us some flesh.
Maybe not the.
Well, no, of course you don't disagree with her, because if you did, you wouldn't have her on your show, you coward.
Necessarily, I would say the acceptance of us.
Well, there's data to show that.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
There's data to show that.
Yeah,
So people
like
are
we're
becoming
less and less accepting of LGBT people over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Because of people like that. Like,
No, because of people like you and the people on trigonometry. Because of things like the rise of Donald Trump, the rise of the alt-right. It is the expected backlash to gay rights, and it's the expected backlash to trans people becoming more visible.
you have to see me as I see myself. That's not what self-ID is. Self-ID means self-ID. If you want to be accepted into society, unfortunately, this is just how it is. It's not fair, maybe, but it's just how the world is. Like, you want to be accepted as a man, you have to kind of look like a dude. Like, it's that simple. Does everyone get the opportunity to look like a dude? No, because some people unfortunately aren't going to be able to pass But like make an effort and I guarantee most people will accept you.
What do you mean make an effort?
Entitled, like you said.
Well, we all are. We all are entitled.
We're annoyed.
Now.
We're annoyed.
Like all groups now, like we're all, this is the problem is all of us have been like told, you are this group. Like I'm supposed to go, well, I'm a first generation immigrant and I, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Why? Why did you even say that?
Like, exactly.
Like why do I need to identify as part of this group and then pursue our group rights together? Why can't I just be like a person?
Because I think,
but you can choose not to engage in like political action. You can choose not to advocate for people like you if you choose not to do that. People choose not to do that every day, and nobody fucking freaks out on them. People fucking don't like you, Constantine, because of your behavior.
It's the divide and conquer technique.
Right.
You think that's what it is? I think that's part of it, and I think it's also that hierarchy thing again. It's like they don't want white people. Like they're racists, literally. Yeah. They hate white people.
Oh no, it's now anti-white racism.
White men specifically.
Wait, she's Italian. At one time, her grandparents probably weren't allowed to be white. Oh no.
So
sorry, mate.
Yeah.
No, but it's true. It's true. Like and it's funny because like I've never had an issue with white men. Like white men for the most part are usually like, well, we'll say white people for the most part are.
Oh no. Is she going to do what I think she's going to do now? Is she going to say all these fucking non-white people are mean to me? She's going to do it. I think she's going to do it.
Usually the most accepting of LGBT people. I don't know if you guys know that. But if you go to like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Mexico, they're not as like LGBT friendly there. I'm just saying black people, very Christian, very Catholic. You got to remember, it's a thing. So I don't know why.
Black people tend not to be Catholics, but that's like whatever.
Gay community are hating white people so much. Like on paper, they are the most accepting of LGBT people.
I think it's.
I mean, on paper, maybe, sure. I guess now the demographic that was at the forefront of the LGBT rights movement that tended not to be gay were actually Jewish folks. Same with the civil rights movement. There were a lot of Jewish folks in the civil rights movement. And I guess now that we now let Jewish people be white. So, okay, sure. And I know I'm talking about this kind of inartfully, but I hope everybody out there understands where I'm coming from and shit.
Maybe within the US, if you look at
within the US,
right? If you look elsewhere. So you gave the example of, I mean, Puerto Rico is part of the US, isn't it?
Technically,
right?
Yeah.
It's like a territory.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But like for example,
well, that's a bit of a problem actually. That Puerto Rico is just kind of a part of but that's a whole other thing that we could talk about another time, right?
Where I come from, Russia, Ukraine, these aren't places that are great on LGBT rights.
Right. I'm talking about the States.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Ukraine, before they started getting bombed, was starting to go the right way on it. Russia, no, not at all. The Russian Orthodox Church be fucking looming large in their society, and Vladimir Putin is not a fan of queer people. But Ukraine was starting to go the other way on that shit. They were starting to go the right way on that shit.
In the States,
so yeah, but I hear what you're saying. It's interesting.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean.
But is there?
This queer movement's mostly in the States, right? And here.
Yeah.
Like Canada.
And are you saying that in America, in the LGBT community, if there's such a thing, people are sort of like they've embraced this idea that white people are sort of
evil, like 100%.
Wait, what? I don't think. Wait, what is she talking about?
They hate them. And it's sad because like Marcus and I will be walking in the street and like he'll get looks even. Because he's like, my friend Marcus is behind the camera.
Right.
He's a trans guy. He gets shit because he's cis passing as a trans person. Like that's the point as a trans person. You want to pass as the gender that you feel.
No, that's not the point. Oh, that's gross. That's gross. That was one of the things when I first, I went to a couple trans friends of mine before, like not before I started podcasting, but right as I started podcasting, these issues came up and I was like, you know what? I'm pretty fucking ignorant about this stuff. And one of the dumb questions I asked one of my friends was about the idea of passing. And she was like, oh, she's like, you need to be real careful when you talk, the way you talk about that, if you don't want people to think you're an asshole. And then she explained why. She said that a lot of it's socioeconomic, that the idea of passing is going to have a lot to do with how much money you have to throw at the problem, that was her words. And so you end up basically suggesting that poor trans people aren't, as good as trans people who can afford surgery, who can afford, hormones, and not for nothing, also, whether or not your passing is a function of whether or not your family was supportive when you're young. And so she was just telling me, she's like, you better be careful on that one. And she was right.
They give them shit for it because they're not trans. They don't care about actual passing. So it's just this whole movement is everyone speaking above everybody else and feeling entitled to that space, to speak from that space when they're not actually a part of that space.
Hey, Francis, do you go on the internet to look at naughty stuff?
Yeah.
Nope, no ad.
Time is computers
I'd cut this out of the podcast, but I'm lazy.
.com/trigger.
Do you know what really worries me is that there are things that we have in place in our society, like women's spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody understands why there's women's spaces. We all get it. Particularly as a man, you understand.
You know what? There's a point I want to make real quick.
What is a woman's space that I can't go into?
I'm going to make it. When you were a kid, I don't know if we do this in the UK, but we do this in the United States. When you were a little boy and you were only with your mom or your aunt and you had to go to the bathroom, which bathroom they take you in?
They took me, I can't remember actually.
Okay. 99% of the time, they'll take you to the women's bathroom with them.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that? They don't want a little boy going in the men's room? That's kind of weird, right? Oh, it makes sense though.
Yeah.
Because males are more likely to be predators and sexual predators.
No. Such a vanishingly small amount of sexual assault happens in the fucking bathroom, in a public bathroom. Because other people are there. It's public. It's hard to have consensual sex in a public bathroom. The kid just goes in with the parent because the kid's like fucking just barely started walking. I'm gonna pee all over the place and shit if you let them go in the bathroom by themselves.
That's why we need women's spaces. So little boys know this at a very young age.
And the argument that I always
And also,
use,
as a little boy in a women's space, you're not a threat because you're a little boy.
Because you're a little boy.
Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the argument that I always use when people go, oh, but we should have unisex bathrooms, is a nightclub argument. Like, and you will know this better than anyone. Like, if
At the gay club, everyone just uses the same.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing because like the gay dude's like fucking the stalls and I'm like, all right, well, it's like.
What? She just said at the gay clubs that everybody just uses that. She's like, it's not my favorite thing, but she's not like everybody's getting assaulted in there. Oh God. Fucking God, there's so much I want to say about this lady that's like probably may or may not be TOS, but just isn't like ways I like to talk.
I mean, that took a detour. But
that's true.
You're giving us an entry into... No, it's brilliant. Into a world with which we have no familiarity at all.
But in a straight like nightclub, let's just call it that, or a mainstream nightclub, if a dude's harassing you and you make it quite clear to him that you're not interested for whatever reason, and he continues to hit on you, which unfortunately is just the reality of life, where do you go that's safe?
You could in a women's space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you go to the bartender. You go talk to the bartender about it. That's who you talk. You go to security or the bartender. Yeah, you can retreat to the restroom, but that's not going to stop the problem unless you plan on spending the rest of the evening in the restroom. You tell someone who works at the nightclub because they don't want that shit happening at their nightclub because it's all about reputation. If your nightclub gets the kind of reputation where women get harassed, then ain't no women going to your fucking nightclub anymore, and now nobody's going to your nightclub anymore.
And then the girl that's drunk is like, "Babe, are you okay?" Blah, 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 blah. Like, and then you're like not mad about that she's drunk and helping you. It's like, okay, well, thank you. yeah.
But once we obliterate that,
there's a reason for women's spaces. Like there is, and it's a safe. It's not 99% of the time.
But like
safety.
maybe she leaves out the possibility that the drunk lady in the bathroom that's going to give her a hug and emotional support might be a trans woman.
I know people will be pissed off at me asking this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you think
I love it then. Go.
part of how we got here is there were sort of parts of feminism, not all, like you said, there's different ways of doing feminism, and some of them I think are really important, and I agree with completely. But there was also a part of feminism which sort of sought to pretend that there are no differences between men and women.
Yes.
And then you
New
end
age
up in this
feminism.
position, right?
Yes.
You're going, well, there's no difference between men and women. Why do you need women's spaces?
Right.
We're all the same, right? But we're not the same.
No, not at all. A true feminist isn't going to say, just because you want to be treated as an equal doesn't mean you're the same. Equal and the same don't mean the same thing.
Right.
Like you can have a math equation and it's equal, but it's not the same.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
of course.
They don't mean the same thing.
Yeah.
You treat me as an equal, but that doesn't mean like respect me as the same, right?
Yeah.
Pay me the same, but that
Don't
doesn't
discriminate
mean
against me in
right.
employment.
But that
all
doesn't mean we're the same.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big difference. People misconstrue those two words.
So where do you think this is all going?
I don't know. I think that it's coming to an end.
Really?
I really
You
do.
do?
I really do. I think within the next 5 years, we're going to see it come to an end. I think the new generation, like Gen Z was like, forget it, off the rails. I think I'm a millennial. We're millennials.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
I love the way we embrace that.
We are
Because we're right
millennials.
on the cusp. We're
But it's-
clinging desperately to
no,
being
you are.
millennials.
No,
Yeah.
you're millennials. Yeah.
Yeah.
But weren't everybody complaining about the millennials being a bunch of fucking snowflakes just a little while ago? When this next generation comes up, these people are going to have the same kinds of complaints about them. It's just that the next generation coming up aren't even really adults yet. Gen Z is still like early 20s. Like, get the fuck out of here. Y'all are going to fucking get off my lawn about the next generation too. Get the fuck out of here.
I think, I mean, we're biased, of course, but I think we make the most sense. And I think we were like pro-LGBT, actual LGBT rights, and like
completely.
pro-feminism. And now I think it's just gone too far to the other side, and it's starting to come back. And I think within 5 years, I think this new generation of kids, like the younger kids, are actually going to be more conservative. Because they're looking at this shit like Leah Thomas in sports. They're looking at this as kids, and they're like, that doesn't make
Are the youths really into women's swimming, lady? I don't believe you.
Kids know, and kids are honest. And they don't sugarcoat
No,
it.
the kids might be honest, but sometimes they're also ignorant because they're kids. That's why we don't let them, until a certain age, drive a car, sign a contract, join the military, buy cigarettes, buy alcohol, buy weed if the weed is legal where you're at. So if kids are like, oh, mommy, that lady looks like a man, well, mommy is going to be like, honey, we don't talk that way about other people. If mommy's like a decent person, we leave other people alone and we let them be. So yeah, she's like, oh, kids, they get it. They get it. It's like, no, kids are kids, and they're not gonna think before they open their fucking mouth, because that's part of being a kid.
You know that something is wrong. So they're seeing this happen, and
Do you
it doesn't
reckon
make
that's
sense to
happening
them.
though? Because if you look at what's being taught to children at school,
that's indoctrination.
quite
If we didn't indoctrinate them, I think.
right, but
But
we
people
are
are,
indoctrinating.
but people
them.
are fighting against that too in America.
They are.
Yeah, they're fighting against that by like showing up at drag queen story hour and scaring the fuck out of everybody at the library.
It's like I said, they're starting to fight against it. So I think it's going to continue.
But it's not the kids fighting against it. The kids are the ones who end up being victimized by the people fighting against it.
So I was not, when you're actually LGBT, you don't need to be told that you're LGBT. Like, you know that you're different. I knew when I was 9 years old.
But the kids, when they feel different, they feel ostracized and left out. And if there's an adult there that can tell them that it's going to be okay, it's going to get better. There are adults who feel like these kids feel, and those adults have good lives. And, actually, Sally has 2 mommies and that's fine. And the kids the kid who thinks that she might also like girls is going to feel good about that. What the fuck?
I was gay. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew romantically, it was a romantic thing. Like, oh, I want to hold that woman's hand. I want to right? I want to be I thought I was like, oh, I want to be the prince and save the woman, the princess, blah, blah, blah. It's not a sexual thing at that age. Now you're teaching kids about sex and stuff.
It's called sex ed. Sex ed is good. Sex ed is part of the process sex ed was one of the most important things as far as kids understanding if they're possibly being abused by, let's face it, a family member or a friend of the family, the most likely person to abuse your kids. A trusted adult, maybe a priest. Or even if it's another teacher doing it. If the sex ed is there to tell kids about good and bad touching. It's what the fuck is she talking about?
Okay.
No.
But how have we got to this point? How have we got to this point where
I talked about this. No, sorry. I talked about this with Blair White. And
we've had Blair on the show as well.
Love her. Yeah, she's a great person. Really good, actually good person. We talked about this. It's an extreme overcorrection. Did gay people get treated badly? Yes. Did black people get treated badly? Yes. But now it's overcorrecting. Everybody's gay, right? Everybody is microaggressions, right? It's too much. It's how about we just meet in the middle, and that's where everybody should
meet in the middle of what?
But it's people. It's society.
This is one of those meet me in the middle as I take a step back things, right? If I keep telling you to meet me in the middle, but I keep walking backwards, then we don't end up where the middle is, do we?
Correcting all these mistakes that they've made. And that's why we call it woke. It's all these overcorrections. Calm down. Not everybody has to be gay. Not everybody's trans just because they act a little different, right? Not everybody's racist. Calm down.
But it also gives people cachet to be the victim, and it gets them a really easy get out of jail free card. So I'll give you an example. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a test for ADHD. It came out, I've got ADHD. And that means...
Most people do, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty common, yeah.
Yeah. And so that means there's been a lot of things in my life that I've really struggled with.
Right.
And it's very easy for me to then go, oh, that's the result of this condition. Therefore, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's everybody else's fault. Right. Instead of going, well...
How do I fix it?
Yeah,
or how do I help myself?
Because that's difficult.
It is difficult. But it's the way you have to, what else are you going to do? You can blame everybody else, but that's not actually going to help you.
But acknowledging that it's more of a struggle for you because you have ADHD and maybe cutting yourself a little bit of slack because of some of the things you struggled with that your peers didn't struggle with is actually okay.
No, that's not self-growth.
No.
But what I find worrying about this ideology is that it encourages you to see yourself as helpless.
As a victim. And you know why that's popular right now? You know why the government is condoning that or even prioritizing that? Because that means they're going to ask the government for help. And then the government has more power, more control.
What is the government, the Borg?
Communism. It's literally how communism happens.
Wait, what?
I don't have anything. I can't do anything.
Communism is when you ask the government for help.
The only answer is the government helping me.
Which is interesting that it would be happening in a country like America because you're
very anti-communist as a nation.
It's not even about anti-communist. It's the very foundation of your society is based on the very opposite in terms of what you actually. It's not that you are anti-communism. It's that the beliefs that you used to inculcate in your society were the antithesis of communism. They were about self-reliance, independence, go get it, make freedom. It happen, be free, make your own mistakes, by the way.
The American dream, right? You can make it, whatever you dream, you can do it if you work hard enough.
And
now it's the opposite.
You've got a generation of people who are being trained to think very differently to that. So it's kind of very anti-American.
It is anti-American. It's sad. We have kids nowadays, one of my goddaughters, my best friend's daughter, came home, she was 12 at the time, I think, or 13, maybe 2 years.
Is this the generation of kids that are going to hate the trans people, or is this the generation? Are we flipped the script now, and your friend's kid is a victim and going to bring about communism?
It was. She came home, and my best friend, Italian girl, only dates Hispanic dudes. She doesn't like black dudes. She doesn't like white dudes. Like only like brown people. She loves brown guys. And the kid comes home one day and calls us white supremacists and all these things. And I'm like, what is this kid learning in school? Like clearly they're teaching them something.
Did she just come home and be like, well, you know what? Maybe she knows who Arielle is. Maybe she's like, oh shit, mom, your friend's a white supremacist.
Like I don't want to say the name. I was like, how are you going to tell your mom she's a white supremacist? She only dates brown guys. Your father's a brown guy. I treat you the same as I would treat anybody else. And I knew you were brown. She's El Salvadorian. Since you were like, you pass as brown. Like you don't look white at all. You don't look half white. You look brown. And nobody treats you any differently. But we're white supremacists. So they're clearly teaching these kids.
I don't think this happened either.
Why are you a white supremacist?
I think there's a lot of interactions in this that just didn't happen.
I think it was 2 years ago. We were talking about the election. And you're a white supremacist and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you need to stop because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I like most of the time, most of the girls I date are Hispanic. So like, am I like a brown supremacist? Like I just.
We throw these labels around and we forget what an awful thing that is to be.
Right.
An actual racist. That's an awful thing to be.
There's a guy called, this black guy that I follow on Twitter. Do you know him, Zeke? The black cop?
Yeah, I follow him.
love him. He's great.
Yeah.
And he talks about it. He talked about it in one of my videos. And he said, listen, my granddad actually experienced depression and actually experienced racism in like 1930s and 40s, whatever it was. And he's like, he told me, this is what he said to me on the camera. He was like, he told me, do not overuse that word racist because it diminishes what actual people like my grandfather, like what he experienced. He's like, I never use that word. He's like, it's very, and he calls people out on Twitter all the time. He's like, he's like, this is not racist. Somebody asked, like, they liked your haircut and you call, oh, I like your braids. That's racist. What? Or you want to wear braids and that's cultural appropriation. It's racism. He's like, you need to come. He calls out people all the time. I love him. We need more people like that.
Oh, he's, there's a phrase, one of the, and I'm not going to say it. That's what she's saying though, right?
I know.
It just feels like
no, it's all exhausting. It really is.
But it just feels.
I mean, it's not exact. No, none of this is exhausting unless you're fucking mad at it. Like, I'm not mad at any of this stuff. I don't give a fuck about. I don't give a fuck about this stuff. I don't get called racist. But if somebody called me racist, the first thing I'd do is be like, did I just do something racist? Is there a way that I'm behaving that I'm maybe unaware of that is forwarding racist tropes, stereotypes? Might go to a friend. Be like, hey, I said this and someone said that it was racist or that I am a racist. I might go to a black friend even and be like, is this anti-black racism that I'm not aware of? And then I trust that my friend will tell me the fucking truth. And then if my friend says, well, yeah, here's kind of why, here's what's going on. I'll be like, oh shit. And then I could change my behavior based on that. I know it's shocking to try to navigate this stuff if you don't want to change your behavior ever.
Gone mad.
That's what happens when you don't have any personal responsibility. Because you can, even if you're going crazy, you could blame it on anything else. Blame it on everything else, anything else other than yourself, right?
But okay, so going crazy is sort of, what does that mean? What does she mean? Does she mean you're suffering a mental illness? If you are, well, then that isn't your fault. And you should try to get some help if you can. But when she says going crazy, I think she means it colloquially. And she means acting in a way that she thinks is bizarre, probably, right?
Because when you were crazy back in the day, who are you going to blame? Oh shit, it's me. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to, I went to get help for my mental health, my anxiety. I'm on medication. Yeah. And it wasn't crazy, but
crazy is what other people are. That's right, Arielle. When other people are suffering with anxiety or some kind of mental problem, those are the ones who are crazy. When it's her, though, no, it's mental illness and needs treatment. You
can have all these mental illnesses and it's like people are flaunting them and it's like, It's not something to be ashamed of, but it's also not something to be proud of. It is what it is.
Something to work on.
It's something to fix your, right. Something to help yourself, right?
Exactly. And people, I see it in their bio, bipolar, ADHD. And look, these are, serious conditions, some more serious than others. But it's not your fucking identity.
It's not your identity.
Wait, but then what is acceptable for someone to put as their identity? What is this fucking wish.com John Oliver? Like, what does he think it's okay for someone to include as part of their identity? What's okay? I'm serious. Like, I wish I could ask. Like, what kinds of things are okay for me to include as my identity? They're just things that don't make you uncomfortable? Is it okay if having been a DJ since I was 16 is part of my identity? Oh, that's probably okay, right? Because it's like just a hobby. Leftist streamer? Oh no, that's probably not a good thing to have as my identity, right? Because, bad. Gay? Can I put gay? Oh, I think that's okay now, especially if I'm cis and white. She likes it for sure. She wouldn't like me, but she likes that about me, I bet.
Marcus and I were talking about this yesterday. They don't have an identity. That's what it is. Because none of these words actually mean anything anymore. So they're grabbing at these labels and these identities and these words that have no meaning just because they can't. It's like they don't know how to develop a personality. Because you know what? Most personalities are developed based on opinions of the world, and these people all think the same.
Wait, what?
So they have to have differences in their identities to be seen as different.
So do people have to agree with her to not all believe the same thing? Oh, these people that don't agree with me, they all think the same thing. Well, insofar as they don't agree with you, I guess so. But I could say that about the three people on the show, that they generally think the same because they're all in agreement for the most part during the show, during trigonometry here.
They'll think the same.
But that's a great thing that this particular ideology gives you. It just gives you a list of opinions which
to believe in.
Yeah,
which is a cult, by the way.
Okay, let's start. Let's go with that then.
It's a cult.
Why?
Like literally just what you said. This is what you have to believe in order to be a part of our group.
And the moment you don't,
oppression group.
And the moment you don't believe that,
bye girl, bitch, bye bitch. Like that's it. You get excommunicated from I always use that word, but it's like a religion. That's why I say excommunicated. Yeah. It's literally
everybody else's belief system is a cult except for mine. Come on.
Cult is like a religion. And
how have you found this? Because you're obviously a public figure in some way. On YouTube, you've got a big following. So people will know who you are in the quote. I mean, this idea of the LGBT community is a thing I question as a thing that exists anyway.
Right.
But
why? Why do you question that? It's a diverse community. The LGBTQ plus or whatever, however you want to describe it, is actually a fairly diverse community. It's, you can be any race, nationality, could be any gender, any socioeconomic class. You could be in a part of what we would broadly call the LGBTQ plus community. Why is this a problem? Like, what do you mean, Constantine?
Among your people, what kind of reaction do you have?
Like Blair and I were talking about this when I was on her channel, and it's different now. Like before, we would go out and people would be, Blair differently. Like people never liked her. People
we like Blair, but
the LGBT people.
Yeah,
but there's like a very small subset of the community that loves her. But for me, it was the opposite, right? Because I was more on the left before.
Mm-hmm. You were educating people about being gay. You were doing sex ed. You were doing all that great stuff.
And then they turned their backs on me, and they're claiming that I turned my back on them. And it's like I had the same opinions for the last 12 years, but whatever. Except something on trans issues, I became more left, and then some things I became more right, depending on what new information comes out, right? But I think for the most part, now, where before people would come up to me and cry, and when they met me at VidCon, now I don't get invited. Not surprised. But now I remember I was at Rhode Island Pride, And there was like 2 or 3 girls together in a group. And one of the girls came up to me and she just stood next to me, didn't actually look at me. I'm not even making this up. Stood next to me and was like, love your content. And then walked away and I was like, what just happened? Like, what was that? Because she was afraid that other people would see her interacting with me. That's so sad.
Yeah.
You can't even like somebody's content anymore without being called a bigot.
Well, what does their content say?
On Twitter.
I know that feeling very well because I don't know if you know this, Francis and I, before we started this, we were in the comedy industry in this country.
I don't think that's the case. This is things that never happened. You were comedians the same way that Dave Rubin was a comedian.
And it's about like 200 people or 300 people. It's a small world, really. Very small world.
Yeah.
And they didn't like you, and so now you do a reactionary YouTube channel.
Watching each other, everyone's monitoring what everyone's thinking, what they're liking, what they're not liking.
Terrible.
And I remember I used to watch, so at the time it was Dave Rubin's show. This was like 2016, 2017, where he was kind of going through I'm a liberal, but I'm exploring different points of view phase.
Because he is a classic liberal, so am I.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He even says he's a conservative now.
Since then, Dave's evolved his thinking. I think he's more squarely in the sort of on the right box now. But
Constantine even knows that.
So far left, he's kind of staying here. So he's
yeah.
Same.
No.
I found his show very interesting because it was kind of the journey I was going through mentally myself.
Yes.
And I would watch it. I think it took me 2 years to actually subscribe to his YouTube channel and to like his face because I was afraid.
Wow.
Because
as a grown man, you see how?
That sounds like a you problem, Constantine.
And people are shocked when we're talking about these kids. It's like, you're a grown man, you were afraid?
Yeah.
My friend was texting me before. He was afraid. He's afraid. He's a trans guy. He's afraid to talk about these things.
Yeah, because I knew. We both knew. Look at us. We started the show, and all we do is we talk to people about some of these issues. And I love you
talk to people about some of these issues. Then the people you talk to all come from the same point of view on these issues. You're not going to have anyone on your show to talk about this particular issue who has my point of view. Because you're just not going to, because that's not what your audience wants, and you're not equipped to defend your position when someone comes on and doesn't agree with you. And so that's why you do what you're doing here, where you have people on who agree with you, and you're like, look at this diverse group of people who all happen to agree with me. Look, this woman's a lesbian and she's terrible. Aren't we open-minded?
By the way, the no filter conversation we're having, it's great, right? And
I would love a no filter conversation with these two.
We just the guy.
I mean, I don't have a big following. Why don't you have let's see, someone else generally who shares my point of view on a lot of issues, who has a much bigger audience than mine? Maybe Sam Cedar or even Dave Pacman. They did talk to Dave Pacman, but then they called him stupid in a video afterward. They didn't call him stupid while they had him on, but they called him stupid when he wasn't there, because that's what you do when you're brave and that you have difficult conversations.
2 days ago is David Pacman, who's like a progressive commentator on YouTube. We had that conversation and
and then like chat saying, and like I just said, you did a whole ass video after that to badmouth him. Same thing Travis Pangburn did to Destiny. I'm not a huge fan of Destiny, but they pulled a Travis Pangburn where they had somebody on who they knew they probably didn't agree with. And then afterward, instead of talking any smack while the person was on, they did a whole video afterwards saying how that person's stupid and came in bad faith. Same thing as fucking Travis Pangburn did with Destiny. He's like, oh, he wasn't, equipped for the conversation. I'd be like, Travis Pangburn, if you would have said anything like that to Steve during the show, he would have had your ass for lunch. And I think if they would have told David Pacman that he came in bad faith and that what he was saying was like absurd or whatever they said in the video after they talked to Dave Pacman, I think Pacman would have been able to defend his position pretty well too. But they don't do that. They did it after because they're fucking cowards.
People from the left, we get people on the right, we get mostly people like you who are just like, what the fuck's going on? Right?
Because most people are there.
Well,
because they don't invite progressives onto their show.
Nazi bigots in the comedy industry in this country.
Right.
And I don't give a shit about that. But at the time, when it mattered what people thought, when they had opportunity to limit my work, my progression in the comedy industry, I was.
Yeah, it was all the woke people that's why you were never a well-known comic, Constantine. It had nothing to do with the fact that your comedy partner was a really bad knockoff of John Oliver. No, it wasn't that you weren't funny or that you weren't, that it just wasn't in the cards for you to be a famous comic. It was just all these woke comedians.
Of course, no, of course. I don't think it's wrong to be scared. It's just sad that they're scared.
It's terrible.
It makes sense, yeah.
And also the thing as well is like, maybe in my head, I was actually exaggerating the extent to which I was right to be fearful. But the atmosphere is still there. Right. And if people.
But now you've risen above it a little.
We have. But what I'm talking about is this girl that came up to you. Right. Imagine what it's like for her.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not even she.
But she probably doesn't exist.
She might be forced out or
she's in a community too.
She's like, that's her identity.
That's the whole thing. Right.
This is the people she dates. This is the people she's going to.
Yes.
Right.
That's their whole livelihood.
And you like an Arielle Scarcella video on YouTube? Like.
Oh, you follow her on Twitter? Like you like the tweet?
Yeah.
You know what? I bet people who like this lady can't stop talking about how they like this lady because I don't know what anybody likes on YouTube. YouTube doesn't tell you what somebody else is liking.
Sometimes I like tweets that I don't actually like because I want to. It's like I want to look like if it's like a video or something. I don't have time to watch it. I'll watch it later, so I'll like it. So it's in my right? So I can save it.
Yeah.
It's just all too much. It's too much.
It is.
It's also manipulative behavior, right? It's toxic, abusive behavior. It's like an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend looking over your shoulder. Who are you texting? Who are you talking to? Why are you going out with this person? Literally, if there wasn't a relationship, people would be obvious. It's obvious that it's abusive, but it's because it's coworkers or friendships or just people you're following or whatever. They don't call it abusive.
I think it's shitty that you like all this racist content is an abusive thing to say to somebody.
Literally the same thing happening though. Control.
But they also, and this to me is a really sinister thing, because if it was just that, it's obviously disgusting, awful, reprehensible, blah, blah, blah. But
wait, why is it reprehensible for people to express their opinion about your behavior and the things that you're consuming? Why is that reprehensible?
Yeah.
And that's a thing that really
manipulation. Well, that's the manipulative part, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's for your benefit.
It's not gaslighting. Gaslighting is trying to convince someone that they're essentially crazy when they disagree with you. That's gaslighting. They have not described gaslighting here. They're describing literally my peer group is telling me that they think that my behavior has gotten bad, that I've started consuming content that is bad, and they think that that's abusive. They're calling that abusive, but that's just communication. That's it. It's communication.
It's for your benefit.
You know, we have a friend of ours who's a very good comic who...
I probably better comic than you.
During lockdown, he was tweeting his concerns about the impact of lockdown on people's lives and all of that.
Comedy stuff.
Another comedian, these are both black dudes, by the way, and this is relevant to the story. When he said, your tweets are looking... The optics of your tweets are very right-wing lately.
He said that to you?
No, he said it to our friend.
Yeah.
Two
One
comedians.
Black guy said it to another black guy.
To another black guy.
Okay.
The optics of your tweets are very right-wing lately.
Okay.
Right? So it's basically saying like, stay on the reservation.
Right. Are you okay?
Whoa, no, it's not like saying no. Those two dudes are probably friends, and his friend was like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna have to answer about you now. What do you mean? They fucking, what is that? It's like, come get your girl, right? It's like when your friend is it's like when your friend's starting to act the fool. We have a thing, it's called come get your girl. And it comes out of black culture, and it means like your friend's starting to act crazy. Your friend's starting to act in a way that we're concerned about. Come get your friend.
Are you gonna be all right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm worried about you.
I'm worried about
But that's
you.
not what he's worried about.
No.
No.
He's trying to go,
He's trying to reel
don't
him
have
in.
these opinions.
Right. He's trying to reel him in. Right.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he's the friend is saying I did what the fuck?
It's literally abusive behavior. Like
no, telling somebody you're concerned because of the way they're behaving is not abusive behavior. This is what your friends are for. Who the fuck else gonna call you out?
Definition of abuse: control and manipulation. And nobody calls it out. There's like 5 of us that call it out. Sad.
And it's the word right wing, which doesn't mean like, what is the true explanation of the word right wing? It means small government.
Small government, lower taxes.
Less
government involvement, right.
Yeah, less intervention
right.
by the government in your lives. Right. Now, there are trade-offs with that. There's
Wait, what? That's not why, like when the FBI puts out their report that says we're concerned with right-wing political violence, the people they're concerned about aren't advocating for small government. That's not the concern. The concern is things like the desire to create ethno-states, the desire to use force against marginalized groups. What the fuck? He's just describing kind of milquetoast republicanism. Like a milquetoast, boring American Republican who doesn't really get involved in the culture war. They're just like, oh, I just want my taxes lower and I want the government to leave me alone. I mean, like, whatever. I don't share that person's view on the size and role of government, but I'm not like, oh, a right winger, look out, right winger.
And there's negatives.
Of course.
And if you adhere to that particular type of political belief, ideology, great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not my view. They're not my politics, but
your politics are, because you probably don't understand taxation and the size and role of government. Fake John Oliver.
Right.
But right wing now
doesn't mean that. Oh no, it doesn't mean that anymore. It means this whole other identity that they throw you, which is funny because they're like, don't tell me how to identify, but they're throwing all these identities on you.
Well, I've been saying this
just because you feel a certain way about government. You must be a Nazi. You must be a white supremacist.
I've been saying this for years. You can be non-binary in every way except politically.
Literally, I've never met I have one friend that he's not really non-binary. That's the thing. He's had trauma, so he has dysphoria, but not like full dysphoria.
No, your friend's just non-binary.
Non-binary Republican that I've ever met. You a conservative. You'll never meet a non-binary person other than him. That's not left wing. Like you said it perfectly.
My friend is the only non-binary person who is not a fucking communist. Get the fuck out of here.
Non-binary in every way, but not politically. You can't have like me, like have an opinion that's on the left and on the right and think of yourself as someone in the middle. No. If you've stepped over this line here,
you're
that's
all
it.
the way, right?
That's it. You're done. You're done. It's fucking incredible how we've got here.
Well, got to stop this fucking podcast somewhere. So we're going to stop it here. Thanks, podcast listeners, for checking this out. This has been infuriating. I don't usually get like mad on the show. I got mad at a couple things this lady said. So yeah, if anybody likes hearing me mad, I guess we can watch more of this lady's content, but not tonight. Although we may finish this video during red light. We may. But anyway, podcast listeners, thanks for tuning in. Live listeners, don't go anywhere because I'm not going anywhere. I just have to cut this off at some point so that I can put it out on like iTunes. And do we call it iTunes? I think we call it Apple Podcasts. If you like this podcast, make sure you tell a friend about it. Text your friend a podcast. It's weird. Text your friend like a picture of the podcast. I don't know. Text your friend this podcast. You can support this project at patreon.com/Echoplex. And I don't know. I'll be back for the post game. Yikes. This is Boomers by Periscope.